Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time, we're tackling a topic that's probably way more interesting than you think. We all take medication sometimes, right?
Right.
But have you ever stopped to think about just how much goes on to get that medication from the doctor's prescription pad all the way to your hands?
Yeah, it's a process most people don't really think about until maybe there's a problem.
Exactly. And it turns out there's a ton of research going on behind the scenes to make this whole medication process as safe and efficient as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
So, to help us break it all down, we've got a fantastic expert with us today. Welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
All right, so let's dive right in. We're looking at this really cool 2023 review article that caught our eye. It actually used machine learning to comb through thousands of publications about this whole medication process.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes this article so fascinating. I mean, there's just so much research out there these days. It's almost impossible to stay on top of it all.
Oh, I totally agree. But this review gives us a really great snapshot of what researchers are focusing on and what they're finding out.
Absolutely. Helps us see the big picture.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of those research findings, can you just kind of set the stage for us? Like, what exactly are we talking about when we say medication use process?
Sure, I can do that. So basically, the medication use process, or what we often call the MUP for short, is all the steps involved in, well, getting that medication from the point where it's prescribed to the point where the patient actually takes it.
Hmm, interesting. So it's not just like, here's your prescription, go fill it at the pharmacy. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more to it. It's really a whole system that's designed to make sure that medications are used safely and effectively in all kinds of healthcare settings.
Okay, so a whole system, multiple steps, safety checks, lots of people involved. Sounds pretty complex.
It can be, but it's all in the name of patient safety. Traditionally, the MUP has involved 5 main steps.
Five, wow.
Yeah, starting with prescribing, then you have transcribing, which is basically transferring that prescription information.
Okay.
Then comes dispensing, administration, and finally, monitoring.
5 steps, that's a lot.
It is, but the good news is that technology has actually helped streamline things a bit.
Oh, interesting.
With more doctors using electronic prescribing, entering those prescriptions right into the computer, well, the transcribing step has kind of merged with prescribing.
Makes sense, yeah. Less paperwork.
Exactly. So now we generally talk about a 4-step MUP.
Okay, so we're down to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So to make sure we're all on the same page, before we dive into the research, can you give us a quick rundown of what those 4 steps actually entail? What happens at each stage?
Yeah, sure. So first up, we've got prescribing right. That's where the healthcare provider, usually a physician, figures out what medication the patient needs. They consider the diagnosis, medical history, all that stuff, and then they write the prescription.
So that's the first step. Makes sense. What happens next?
Next comes dispensing. So that's where the pharmacist steps in. They take that prescription, review it, and make sure everything looks good. They're checking for potential drug interactions, allergies, things like that. Then they prepare the medication and give the patient all the instructions on how to take it properly.
Right, so the pharmacist is kind of like the last line of defense before the medication gets to the patient, making sure it's all safe and accurate.
Yeah, you could say that. It's a critical role.
For sure. All right, so we've got the doctor prescribing, the pharmacist dispensing. What's next?
Next comes the actual giving of the medication, which we call administration. The patient might take a pill, get an injection, or maybe receive an IV. Depends on the medication and the situation.
Right, administration makes sense. That's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. And then what's the last step?
The last step is monitoring. That's where we make sure the medication is actually working as intended and watch out for any potential side effects. This often involves communication between the patient, the doctor, and the pharmacist to make sure everything is going smoothly.
So monitoring, basically making sure everything's going according to plan and catching any problems early on.
Exactly. It's all about making sure the patient is getting the best possible outcome from their medication. So yeah, those are the 4 main steps.
Really interesting. I have to say, I never realized how much thought and effort goes into something as seemingly simple as taking a medication.
Right. There's a whole lot happening behind the scenes.
It's amazing. All right, so now I'm even more curious to hear about that 2023 research and what they discovered about making this whole process even better.
Yeah, me too. So much cool stuff going on.
Let's get into it then. Okay, so let's get into some of those fascinating 2023 research findings. You mentioned earlier that electronic prescribing is generating tons of data. What are researchers doing with all that information?
Well, it's pretty amazing, actually. With all these electronic prescriptions, researchers now have this huge data set to analyze. It's like a gold mine for understanding prescribing patterns and finding potential areas for improvement.
So it's like big data meets healthcare, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we can actually use all this information to make the system safer and more effective.
Exactly. I mean, one of the studies that really caught my eye was about using this data to develop and improve these things called clinical decision support systems.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those.
Oh,
Aren't those like computer systems that help doctors make better decisions?
that's right. They're basically these smart tools that are built right into the electronic health record. They can alert doctors to potential problems like drug interactions or allergies, things they might miss otherwise.
Wow, that's really cool. So it's like having a second set of eyes, but digital ones.
Pretty much. And there was this one study that specifically looked at a system for managing high blood sugar with IV insulin.
Oh wow. That's a pretty critical area to get right.
It is, and the system was really sophisticated, like it would actually analyze the patient's blood sugar readings in real time and then adjust the insulin dosage accordingly.
Oh wow, that's incredible. So it's like a personalized insulin pump built into the system.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's a great way to put it. It's all about using data to make treatment more precise and effective.
that's amazing. Okay, so we've talked about the prescribing side of things.
Hmm.
What about dispensing? You mentioned robots and RFID earlier, which sound super futuristic. What's happening there?
Oh, yeah. Dispensing is really getting a tech makeover. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got robots that can actually prepare those complex IV medications now. Super precise, super efficient.
Whoa, robot pharmacists. That's crazy.
It's pretty wild. But think about it. It frees up pharmacists to spend more time with patients, providing counseling and really focusing on that personal touch.
Right, so the robots are doing the heavy lifting, and the pharmacist can really focus on patient care. Makes sense. What about those RFID tags, though? What are they all about?
So RFID, that's radio frequency identification. It's like a little microchip that can be attached to, well, pretty much anything. And in the pharmacy, they're being used to track every single medication.
Oh, wow. So it's like each bottle or vial has its own little tracking device. What's the point of that?
Well, for one thing, it helps pharmacies manage their inventory much more efficiently. They can track expiration dates, make sure they don't run out of critical medications, things like that.
So it's all about making sure the right medications are available when they're needed.
Exactly. It's also really helpful for preventing medication errors. If a technician accidentally grabs the wrong bottle, the system can actually flag it.
Wow, that's really impressive. So it's not just about efficiency, it's about safety, too.
Oh, absolutely. RFID is a game changer when it comes to medication safety. And speaking of safety, have you heard about these tech programs that are starting to pop up?
No, I don't think so. What are those?
Well, with all this new technology coming into the pharmacy, the role of pharmacy technicians is evolving, right? So now, in some hospitals, they're actually training technicians to verify the accuracy of those robot-prepared medications.
So it's like the technicians are double checking the robot's work.
Exactly. It adds another layer of safety and ensures that everything is absolutely correct before it gets to the patient.
Very cool. So the technology is changing things, but it's also creating new opportunities for technicians to take on more responsibility.
Exactly. And it's really a team effort to make sure everything runs smoothly and safely. Technology is a tool, but it's the human element that ultimately ensures patient safety.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered prescribing and dispensing. What about administration? Any exciting developments there?
Definitely. One big trend in 2023 was standardization, especially in those large hospital systems, like having standardized medication pump libraries and pre-filled syringes.
Oh, I see. So it's all about making things more uniform and streamlined.
Exactly. And research shows it can really help reduce medication errors. When everyone's using the same equipment and procedures, there's less room for confusion.
Makes sense. But wouldn't that kind of create a one-size-fits-all approach? Like, what about patients who have unique needs?
That's a good point. But the thing is, standardization provides a baseline, and then healthcare providers can still use their judgment to adapt things as needed for individual patients.
Okay, so it's like a foundation,
Hmm.
but there's still room for flexibility and personalization.
Exactly, you got it.
Hmm.
Another cool area of research and administration is alternative dosage forms.
Alternative dosage forms. What are those?
So basically, it's about finding new and better ways to deliver a medication. Like instead of having a patient take multiple pills throughout the day, maybe there's a long-acting injection they can get once a month.
Oh, wow. That would be so much easier for patients to manage.
It would, and it could really help improve medication adherence, making sure people are actually taking their meds as prescribed. Plus, it could potentially be more cost-effective in the long run.
Very interesting. So it's all about finding ways to make medication easier, safer, and more effective for patients.
Exactly.
That's the goal. All right, let's move on to the final step, monitoring. What were some of the highlights from the 2023 research in that area?
Well, one big trend is the increasing use of technology for monitoring. Things like clinical decision support systems and electronic health records.
Like those smart systems we were talking about earlier. How are they being used for monitoring?
So these systems can actually analyze all sorts of patient data, like their medication history, lab results, allergies, and they can alert healthcare providers to potential problems even before they happen.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So it's like having an early warning system for medication safety.
Pretty much. It allows for a much more proactive approach to monitoring. And one study that really stood out looked at how pharmacists are using these systems to optimize care in specialized areas like critical care or pediatrics.
So they're using data to tailor medication therapy to specific patient populations.
Exactly. It's all about using data to personalize care and ensure the best possible outcomes for each patient. And of course, we can't talk about monitoring without mentioning artificial intelligence.
AI. Everyone's talking about AI these days. How's it being used in medication monitoring?
It's still early days, but the potential is huge. I mean, imagine a system that could analyze massive amounts of patient data, everything from their medical history to their genetic information to their lifestyle choices, and predict potential adverse events with incredible accuracy.
Wow, that sounds both incredible and a little bit scary at the same time. Like, how much data is too much data?
It's definitely a valid concern, and it's something researchers are grappling with, but the potential benefits are enormous. If we can use AI to identify patients who are at high risk for problems, we can intervene early and prevent those problems from happening in the first place.
Hmm, that makes sense. It's all about finding the right balance, right? Using technology to improve care while still respecting patient privacy and autonomy.
Absolutely. And those are exactly the kinds of questions researchers are working through as AI becomes more integrated into healthcare.
So we've talked a lot about all this cutting-edge research and how it's changing the game for medication safety. But, no system is perfect, right? Were there any limitations or challenges highlighted in the research that we should be aware of?
Yeah, for sure. One thing the article pointed out was that even with these fancy machine learning algorithms, it's still possible for some important studies to slip through the cracks.
Makes sense. There's just so much research being published all the time. It must be tough to keep up with it all.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that technology is advancing so quickly adds another layer of complexity. Like there are always new medications and devices coming out, so we have to constantly be evaluating their impact and adjusting our practices.
Right. So it's this constant evolution, trying to stay ahead of the curve and make sure everything is as safe as possible.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, patient safety.
Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think it's the importance of embracing innovation and always being willing to learn and adapt. You know, the medication use process is a great example of how technology can be used to improve patient care. But it's also a reminder that we can't just rest on our laurels. We have to keep pushing forward, keep researching, and keep finding ways to make things even better.
Well said. And for our listeners who want to dig even deeper into those 2023 research findings, we encourage you to check out the source article. It's full of fascinating details that we just couldn't cover here.
And as we look ahead to the future, I think it's an exciting time to be in healthcare. There's so much potential for technology to continue to transform the way we manage medications and ensure patient safety. It's a really dynamic field.
It is. And I'm sure we'll be having plenty more deep dives on this topic as those new advancements unfold. But for now, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise. It's been a really enlightening conversation.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners, thanks for tuning in to the deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration of the world of healthcare. Until then, stay curious and keep on learning.